So I said that in this class we're going to study the structure of structures. That is, how do you make a structure, not how you fill it. But I'd really be remiss if I didn't put in a strong word about that, the whole idea of filling the structures and why the structures are important in the first place. You'll spend a lot of time just figuring out how to create a structure, but once you've figured it out, and done it for a particular system, it's done. You create a thesaurus, you create an index, you create a faceted classification system, whatever it is you create for the particular system that you're working on, you do it once and it's done. The amount of work really is relatively small compared to the amount of work to not only create the vocabulary that goes into the structure, but also to maintain that vocabulary. So I'm assuming that quite a few of you who go through this class will end up in that sort of business. The business of creating the vocabularies that fill the structures that we're working with in this class. They're really, really tough. And in fact, the part that we're working on really is the easier of the things to do. Creating the structure is a technical challenge, and you have to get over some technical hurdles to do it, but that's it. Creating the vocabulary is a continuing, ongoing, and really insoluble, not technical problem, intellectual problem. What are the right words to describe this content? What things should be parents, what things should be children? That stuff is really, really tough. It takes a really smart person, someone who possibly is really into the subject matter, but not necessarily. There's lots of really amazing taxonomists who can pick up the subject matter as they need to and then go on. One day it's machine parts, and the next day it's products on Amazon, whatever. People who are specialists in not necessarily having to know the subject matter, but being able to figure out the words that describe the subject matter and work with those words. That's a really strong talent, and it's something that we're not going to touch in this class, but I really want to emphasize how important it is and how difficult it is, and also how costly it is. People turn to full text search, which, as you know by now, is an index, because it doesn't cost anything. You turn the machine on, it shakes up all the words on all your pages, it gives you back an index, and you can search that index, and it's all done by machine, no human intervention. Now, of course, there are some parts that require human intervention these days, but pretty much it's intellect free, the idea of a full text search index. But these other ones really require talented people, and people who don't come at a cheap price. So if you want to become a taxonomist of some sort, you'll earn a pretty good living wage doing it. And not only does it have to be done, but it has to be redone and done over again. And as the content changes, as more content comes into the system and more content gets tagged, it has to be looked over and redone over and over and over again. So it's not just a single cost, it's an ongoing cost. And to do it well requires sophisticated people who are not cheap people to hire, and to do it over the long term. So that's why people turn to full text search, because it's a cheap alternative. But it's, certainly to my mind, it's an inferior alternative. Or actually, I think it's wrong to even say that it's an alternative. It's like saying, well, if I have this big, drill press that can drill through 1,000 things at a time, then I don't need any other kind of drill. I don't need it to make any other kind of hole because I have this big fat one. Well, that's not really true. If you have full text search, it's very good for what it does, but it's not very good for what it doesn't do. It can't create the right words to describe the content. All it can do is pick out the words that are already there. A person can create the right words to describe the content. So these things aren't opposed as they're usually framed. They solve different problems, and they should all be present in any system that you create. Let me see if I left anything out. No, I think that's it. And so I think you'll find that when you come to an organization that appreciates a good taxonomist, they'll really, really appreciate a good taxonomist. And if they have not yet gotten to the stage where they have felt the pain to appreciate a good taxonomist, they'll think that it's an expensive luxury and that they can find the machine to do it. But there's no machine that can create a taxonomy the way that a good human being can. And we're way, way out from the point where a machine could really figure out the right words to describe the content the way that you might.